Most adults are not getting enough choline, the nutrient your brain uses to make key signaling chemicals. And Alpha GPC is one of the most concentrated ways to deliver choline straight into your brain. That is why you see Alpha GPC in focus supplements, pre-workout formulas, and even research on memory problems in older adults. But the story is way more complicated than just take this pill and get smarter. In this video, you are going to learn what Alpha GPC actually is, how it works in your brain and muscles, when food alone is enough, and when a supplement might make sense. And as always, this is education, not personal medical advice, so talk with a qualified clinician before you start, stop, or change any supplement or medication. So what is Alpha GPC in plain language? Alpha GPC is basically a little delivery truck carrying choline, which is a vitamin-like nutrient, into your brain. Chemists call it L-alpha-glycerol-phosphoryl-choline, but all you really need to know is that it is a concentrated, very absorbable form of choline that easily crosses the blood-brain barrier. Once it gets inside, your body can use that choline in a few important ways. The first big job is making acetylcholine. Acetylcholine is a neurotransmitter, a chemical messenger that brain cells and nerve cells use to talk to each other. It is heavily involved in memory, learning, attention, and even muscle contraction. Alpha GPC raises choline levels in the brain, which then supports more acetylcholine being made when and where you need it.
The second job is helping to build and repair cell membranes. Your brain cells are wrapped in a fatty membrane made from phospholipids. Alpha GPC can be broken down and reused as building blocks for those membrane fats, which may support healthy brain structure over time. Think of it as helping you maintain the insulation on the wiring in your brain. The third possible role is around hormones and physical performance. Some small studies in healthy adults and athletes suggest that a single dose of Alpha GPC, often between about 250 and 600 milligrams, taken before exercise can slightly boost power output and sometimes increase the normal exercise-related spike in growth hormone. Results are mixed, and the real-world impact on muscle or strength over months is still not clear, but it explains why Alpha GPC shows up in some pre-workout products. Does your body make Alpha GPC on its own? Kind of. Alpha GPC is a natural breakdown product of phosphatidylcholine, a major fat-like molecule in our cell membranes. Your liver can make some choline, but not enough to meet your daily needs, so you rely heavily on food to supply it. From that dietary choline, your body can form intermediates like Alpha GPC inside your tissues. Factors like your genes, sex hormones, liver health, and overall diet all influence how efficiently you handle choline. Let us talk food, because this is where you have a lot of control without touching a supplement bottle. Choline is widely available in everyday foods. The champions are organ meats, such as liver and kidney, which can give you well over half of your daily choline in a small serving, but most people are not eating those often. A more realistic hero is the humble egg. One large egg gives around 140 to 150 milligrams of choline, roughly a quarter of the daily target for many adults.
Other solid sources include beef, chicken, turkey, fish and seafood, milk and yogurt, and plant foods like soybeans, edamame, quinoa, cauliflower, potatoes, black beans, and shiitake mushrooms, though plants generally have less choline per gram than animal foods. Most adult women are aiming for roughly 425 milligrams of choline per day, and most adult men for about 550 milligrams per day. 2 eggs plus a serving of chicken or tofu and some beans or broccoli can easily bring you close to that range. So when might food alone be enough? And when do supplements come into the picture? If you eat a mixed diet with some eggs, dairy or fortified plant milks, beans, and either meat or soy most days, you are probably getting close to your choline needs. In that case, adding Alpha GPC for basic health is not necessary, and might simply add cost and potential side effects. Supplements become more relevant in a few situations. One is if you are in a clinical trial or under medical care for a diagnosed condition where Alpha GPC is being tested as part of the plan. Another is if you are in a group with high needs or low intake, which I will cover in a moment, and you and your clinician have decided that dietary changes are not enough. Some people also use Alpha GPC occasionally for demanding mental tasks or important workouts. But again, that is an optional layer on top of sleep, exercise, and nutrition, not a replacement for them. If you and your clinician do decide to try Alpha GPC, what does that look like in practical terms? Most commercial products are capsules or powders that provide somewhere between 150 and 300 milligrams per capsule, often standardized to a certain percent of Alpha GPC on a carrier because the pure ingredient absorbs moisture easily. Common daily intakes for general cognitive support or focus are in the range of 300 to 600 milligrams, sometimes split into 1 or 2 doses. Clinical studies in people with cognitive impairment have used up to 1.2 grams per day for several months.
For timing, many people take Alpha GPC about 30 to 60 minutes before a mentally intense task or workout, based on how quickly blood levels of choline tend to rise. Taking it with a small meal or snack may reduce stomach upset in people who are sensitive. We do not have strong data showing that any particular food dramatically blocks or boosts absorption, but an overall healthy gut, not overdoing alcohol, and spreading your supplements out instead of swallowing everything at once will likely help your body handle it more smoothly. When shopping for a product, look for clear labeling of the actual Alpha GPC content per capsule, not just a proprietary blend name. Third-party testing or quality seals are a plus. Because this is a specialized ingredient, it is often mid-range to high in price compared with basic vitamins. You will usually pay for both the dose and the brand reputation. Who might actually benefit from paying attention to choline and possibly Alpha GPC? First, people whose diets are low in choline. Research shows that many adults, especially women, do not reach the suggested intake from food. Choline deficiency can lead over time to problems like fat buildup in the liver and muscle damage, and may be linked with poorer cognitive function. The signs are not specific, but things like unexplained fatigue, muscle aches, and abnormal liver tests can show up. Higher risk groups include vegans and many vegetarians, people who avoid eggs and meat entirely, pregnant and breastfeeding women who have higher choline needs, and some older adults whose diets are limited. Heavy drinkers and those with liver disease may also be more vulnerable to low choline. If you recognize yourself in those descriptions, a simple self-check is to look at your last few days of eating and count how many clearly choline-rich foods you had, like eggs, meat or soy, beans, and dairy or fortified alternatives.
There is no widely used blood test specifically for Alpha GPC, but you can ask your doctor about checking blood choline levels in some settings, as well as routine lab tests such as liver enzymes to make sure your liver is not under strain. They may also consider tests for related nutrients like folate and vitamin B12, since these work together with choline in metabolism. Let me paint a few quick examples. Imagine a budget-conscious college student who lives mostly on instant noodles, white bread, and coffee. They rarely eat eggs or meat because they seem expensive. For this person, the first move is not an Alpha GPC capsule. It is adding a dozen eggs to the weekly grocery list, switching some meals to peanut butter and bean-based dishes, and maybe choosing canned fish once or twice a week. Those changes can dramatically increase choline intake at very low cost. Now think about a long-term vegan who eats plenty of whole grains and vegetables, but not much in the way of soy, beans, or nuts. Their total choline may be on the low side. For them, the priority is boosting plant choline sources like tofu, tempeh, edamame, chickpeas, quinoa, and cruciferous vegetables. If, after those changes and a discussion with their clinician, they still struggle to meet intake goals, a choline supplement or an occasional Alpha GPC product might be considered. Finally, imagine a 65-year-old person who is noticing more memory lapses and already has high blood pressure and a family history of stroke. They have seen Alpha GPC recommended online for memory. Here, things get more nuanced.
Alpha GPC has been studied in people with cognitive impairment, and some trials show modest improvements in memory tests and daily function when it is used for months at doses around 1.2 grams per day. But a very large long-term observational study of more than 12 million older adults found that frequent Alpha GPC use was associated with a higher 10-year risk of stroke. And other work links high choline metabolism to increased levels of TMAO, a compound tied to cardiovascular risk. This does not prove cause and effect, but it means that someone in this situation should only consider Alpha GPC under close medical supervision and after first optimizing blood pressure, exercise, sleep, and overall diet.
So where does the evidence really stand? For people with certain types of cognitive impairment, such as vascular dementia or early Alzheimer's type symptoms, the research on Alpha GPC is fairly substantial, but not perfect. Multiple trials, often lasting 3 to 6 months and using doses near 1.2 grams per day, suggest small to moderate improvements in cognitive test scores and daily function compared with baseline or placebo. That is promising, but it is not a cure, and not every study shows large effects. For healthy adults who are looking for sharper focus or better memory, the evidence is much thinner. There are small, short-term studies in groups of maybe 20 to 50 people that report better reaction time, working memory, or power output at doses around 300 to 600 milligrams, typically taken once before testing or exercise. Other trials find little or no difference. Overall, you would call this early and mixed evidence, not strong proof. On the safety side, Alpha GPC has generally looked well tolerated in human studies for up to about 6 months, with doses up to 1.2 grams per day and no serious side effects clearly linked to the supplement. Common side effects are usually mild and may include diarrhea, heartburn, nausea, headaches, dizziness, trouble sleeping, skin rash, or a feeling of low blood pressure or palpitations in sensitive people or at higher doses. These usually improve when the dose is lowered or the supplement is stopped. More recently, concerns have emerged about long-term cardiovascular risk. As mentioned, large observational datasets suggest that people who take Alpha GPC frequently for many years may have a higher risk of stroke, possibly related to how choline is metabolized into TMAO by gut bacteria. This kind of study cannot prove that Alpha GPC causes strokes, but it is a strong enough signal that most experts recommend avoiding daily high-dose use over many years, especially if you already have cardiovascular risk factors. There are also special groups where extra caution is smart. In pregnancy and breastfeeding, there is not enough reliable safety data, so major medical references recommend avoiding Alpha GPC supplements unless they are specifically prescribed and monitored. Older adults on multiple medications and anyone with a history of heart disease, stroke, or serious arrhythmias should have a detailed discussion with their doctor before starting. Because Alpha GPC influences acetylcholine, there is theoretical potential for interaction with medications that either boost or block this system, such as some Alzheimer's drugs, certain antihistamines, bladder medications, and others. If you are on blood pressure drugs, pay attention to symptoms like dizziness or near fainting when you stand up and report them promptly. Clear red flags that mean stop the supplement and get urgent medical help include sudden severe headache, weakness or numbness on one side of the body, trouble speaking, chest pain, or a racing, irregular heartbeat. Any new or worrying symptom is worth a check-in with your clinician. Let us clear up a few myths quickly. First myth, Alpha GPC will turn you into a genius overnight. Reality? In healthy people, any benefits are likely subtle and depend heavily on sleep, exercise, and overall brain health. It fine-tunes the system at best. It does not rebuild it from scratch. Second myth, if a little Alpha GPC is good, more must be better. Reality, higher and longer dosing may increase risk, not benefits, so staying in moderate ranges and taking breaks makes more sense than megadoses. Third myth, Alpha GPC can replace a choline-poor diet. Reality, your body still needs regular choline from foods, and supplements are a backup plan, not a substitute for eggs, beans, fish, or other nutrient-rich options.
To pull this together,
Alpha GPC is a highly absorbable form of choline that can support acetylcholine production and cell membranes and has promising but not perfect research in certain brain conditions and early, mixed evidence for focus and performance in healthy people. It can be useful in specific situations, but most of your choline should still come from food, and long-term, high-dose use may carry cardiovascular risks we are only beginning to understand. One specific action you can take today is this. Look at your meals for the next 24 hours and consciously include at least 2 clear choline-rich foods, such as eggs, fish or seafood, chicken or tofu, beans or soy-based products. Then, if you are still curious about Alpha GPC, bring this video and your current supplement list to your next appointment and ask your clinician if it fits your personal health picture. How are you currently supporting your brain? Do you focus more on sleep, exercise, food, or supplements? Share your experience with choline-rich foods or Alpha GPC in the comments. Let us know what supplement you would like to learn about it next.